In this video, we'll install Homebrew, Python, Watchdog, PySide6 virtual environment, and standalone scripts. We'll set up a PySide live coding application. It will work because of the Watchdog. We will utilize that, and what that means is that on every change in our application, it will be automatically refreshed. The third thing we'll do is we'll create a minimal PySide app. We'll create a vertical, horizontal layouts. Then we'll combine those two. We'll create a grid layout. At the end, we'll create a stacked layout that will work as a tabs. And then the last thing, we will use a built-in queue tab widget, which will utilize the tabs by itself. All right, let's go over here and install Homebrew. Every link, every code and description and everything, it will be in the description. So just paste it in the terminal, enter your password, enter again, wait till it installs, then search for Python 3.13, click on that, click on copy, and then you want to install Python as well. Just wait once it's done. In my case, it's installed, so it will be pretty quick. For you to have to wait for several minutes or so. As you can see, Python is installed for my machine too, and so we can move on to creating our virtual environment. So I have Visual Studio Code opened, and let's go to our Visual Studio Code terminal, and I want to create a virtual environment. First of all, I want to check on what version of Python do I have. If you're using Windows, you can't use brew, so in your case, just go to the official website to pretty much python.org, then loads, and you will get your Python. Just click this button and go through the installation process. Here we want to check what Python we have. We have this Python, just copy it in, paste in here, and -m venv stands for virtual environment, name of the environment, .venv. I want to have it hidden. The dot at the beginning means it's hidden, and the name, I decided to call it virtual environment venv. Now we have our virtual environment. We want to switch on that virtual environment. So we'll say source, or instead of source, you can use just dot, which is a sort of simplification, but I will still use source.venv. Bin stands for binary. Activate. Now we activated our virtual environment in our code, in our terminal. So here it is. Now I want to install every package. If we wouldn't do that, we would install all the packages into the overall global Python, which we don't want. And so we want to install Watchdog. I'll go ahead and copy it from here. Pip 3 install Watchdog. And the next thing I would want to install is PySide6. Once we have those packages, we can go ahead and create a new file. We'll call this file main.py, and we'll create a new one, which we'll call up.py. Inside main.py, go into the description and find the link for the Watchdog. Go ahead and scroll down a little bit and copy this code snippet right here and paste it into your main file. Some of the changes that I want to make here, I want to delete this method and create a new one that is going to be called init. And by the way, we're now on the second step. We're setting up a live coding application and standalone scripts. I will show it a little bit later. All right, let's pass self parameter in here. Now, what we want to do is we want to create a command, and we'll call this command, just go ahead and right click and copy the path and paste it in here. The different thing I want to do is to create a different variable, which is going to be self.process is equal to subprocess. We have to import that in here. Subprocess p open, and in here we want to just have our self command. The last function I would want to install would be the on modified function, if I'm not mistaken, right? Let's actually go into documentation and see unmodified. Let me check on that. Just give me a second. Just want to make sure that we will use the right thing. Yes, it's just unmodified. Okay. So the function is called unmodified. We're pretty much just, well, as you can see, we have that function right in here, right in there. So first of all, I want to save the self process, and I want to terminate the app that will run. Then we would want to have it wait a little bit once the process is completely terminated. You can read it here. The next thing I want to say that self process will equal to subprocess dot popen, and just the same command here. This is almost it. The last thing, I want to create an if statement, and I want to make sure that the file ends on app.py. And so let's have it here. In your case, up.py, right? In your case, if you create a different name, you would have to specify the name you've created right here. Okay. Hope this is clear. Now we will go back to step one. We'll create a standalone app. We'll go here, pound key, exclamation point. We will direct it on our virtual environment. We'll go ahead and say binary, and we'll say Python 3. All right, save this file, and now we'll have to change a permission for the file because we don't have an execution permission for it. So let's go ahead and do that. We go here, change mode, 755 for main.py. Press enter, and now we can run it as a standalone app. We don't need to click play or anything. This means that if I am going to say, well, let's go ahead and say print hello world, right? Hello world, exclamation point. And let's save it, and let's run main.py, and we got an error which says that permission denied. Yes, so the different thing is we have to make this app as a standalone as well. So as you can see, we were able to run this up just now. It just gave us an error. That doesn't mean that it didn't run, all right? And so to make this a standalone app, we pretty much should do the same thing. It would be a pound sign and then exclamation point, and we go .venv / bin / python 3. Save it and change the permissions. Otherwise, you will get a permission error, as we just got here, a permission error. And so change mode 755 to main to app.py so that we will be able to run it. And now if we run again this main.py, as you can see, we have a hello world, and as I said, it is going to be live coding application. So whenever change in application, it will be automatically refreshed, and we will see a new output. And so if I will change it on a question mark and save the file, we now see the question mark, and now it works. Let's stop the process. All right, so we went through the first 2 steps completely, and I'm glad we did that. Let's create a minimal PySide app. Let's go to app.py. Let's remove this, and first of all, let's import sys system. The next thing, from PySide6 dot qt widgets, import parentheses, and I want to import q main window first. We will gradually import every module. As long as we don't need it, we don't import it. So let's create a class. We'll call this class a main window. we'll want to inherit QMain window class. Inside we will create an init method. It's not a hyphen, it should be underscore. So let's just type it self as a parameter. And inside of here, I want to call a super method dot init, two underscores before the init, and let's call it. Then I want to set a resize, which is going to be, in my case, 500 on 300. And I want to also change or move the position of the app that we will create to 0, which means it's going to appear right here, okay, on the left upper corner or upper left corner, doesn't matter. So the next thing we would want to do is to go down here and say if name is equal to two underscores main two underscores, we would want to create an app. Now we'll create a new import, Q application. So Q application will be here, and here is the place where we use system and arguments. Then the next thing, we will create a window, which is going to be our main window, as a matter of fact. Let's call it, and let's actually show the window. And the last thing we would want to do is to say up execute exec, just like that. All right, so I think this is the minimal setup that we can do. Let's save the file and let's go back to main.py and let's run it. Main.py. So as you can see, we have just created a new app, and now every change that we will make inside our app.py file will be displayed here. Let's go back to our script here. We created a minimal app. The next thing would be create a vertical layout. As you can see, I also added a CSS equivalent that will be helpful for those who are related to web development. Nevertheless, we can close main.py and create and import a new module, which is going to be called QV box layout. All right, we have this module in here. Let's go here and say that we have the layout, which is equal to QV box layout. And let's go ahead and say that this V layout adds a widget. And our widget would be a button. And so let's import a new object, which is going to be Q push button. Just like that, comment there. Let's create it along the way. Right where we need it, we will say that we have btn, which is equal to Q push button. The first parameter is the name. So let's say, well, let's say hello world. Hello world, exclamation point. And we will add this button in here because button is a widget. If you will go inside the button, you will see that it inherits widget, QWidget class object. So we have this now. Now let's go to our imports and import QWidget, comma, and now we want to create a widget which is equal to QWidget. Let's call it. Now this widget should set a layout, and this layout will be the layout. And the last thing I want to do is to say self set central widget, which is going to be our widget. And in this case, if I am going to now save the file, we should see a button vertically layouted. Actually, there's no such word as layouted. I was just like, well, layouted, it sort of sounds, isn't it? But yes, vertically aligned. And so if we'll create a new one, it should go vertically as well. So let's do that actually. So let's call this btn1 and rename it as well here. Let's copy it. For copying, you use Option Shift down key. And let's rename it to button2 and say now click. Now we have click, and I want to copy it again as well and say this would be a button2. Save it, reload, and as you can see, it's vertically aligned. Yes, not layouted. So the next point is to create a horizontal layout, and to create a horizontal layout, we would have to import one more thing, which is going to be as obvious as you may know already, QH box layout, comma at the end. So QH box layout, we may go down here, and well, we can say, first of all, we can say that this is a vertical layout to sort of keep things clean in our code, and this would be our horizontal layout, just like that. Now, there's one important thing that I want to note here is that I would probably want v-layout to be a core layout, but this we will talk about it when we will combine vertical and horizontal layouts. So let's create h layout. I didn't import any class. Okay, good. H layout would equal to a QH box layout. So H layout dot set. Oh, my bad. We actually want to add a widget, and let's say we will add. Well, friends. Again, in the description of this video, I will leave a code. I don't want to code it with you right now. It is just simple code where you can create a different rectangle of colors. So I will just create a new file. Let's create a new file and call it helpers.py. And inside this helpers, you will just paste in this code in here, and just make sure it's in the description. It's probably going to be on GISTs or something like that, but you'll find it out. All right, let's just save this file and let's just import it here. It's not, I would say it's not a scope of today's video to sort of discuss that thing over. So import from helpers, import color class, and for the widget, I want to create this color, and I want to call it red for now. Let's copy it down here and have blue as well. Now, this isn't anywhere yet. We have just created an object, right? But we didn't add this object anywhere. So instead of our v layout, I would have now to add h layout, and so our v layout will disappear and we'll have our h layout. Let's update it, and as you can see, we have a horizontal layout, whereas red goes first and second goes the blue rectangle. All right, this is how we do that. We went through the 5th point, and now I want to combine vertical and horizontal layouts. In order for us to do that, I want to also show, so as you can see, if you'll go over here, we will discuss also the best structure. And the best structure for the application is to have a core layout. And as usual as it is, the core layout should be vertical, right? And so I would advise you to actually rename the layout into a core layout. We will use camel case. This is a camel case, right? It's not a snake case. Yeah, you check on that. So we've created a core layout, and now we want to have a core layout always inside within a widget. And so now, instead of adding 2 layouts to the widget, we will just add one, and in this one core layout, we will add our H layout. So we'll go down here and would say that our core layout will actually add a different layout that will be our H layout. And now we will be able actually to have them combined. So, and this is, I believe, the best structure for your application, to have a core layout, to have things structured and commented like this, and that's about it. Just save the file, and as you can see, we have a vertical layout. This is the first row, second row. This is the third row, right? And the third row is actually our H layout. And then H layout has first column and has a second column. So we went through the 6th point here, and now we want to create a grid layout. So I don't think we should delete anything of these, because as I said, we will just add it to the core layout. Let's go to our imports and import QGrid layout, comma at the end, and here we'll say that would be a grid layout. We will say probably G layout, and this would stand for QGrid layout. There's nothing we want to pass in there for now. And our G layout will utilize the same colors. That shouldn't, my bad, it should have been widget for sure, because color inherits the widget class. And let's say it's going to be purple, and let's add one more, say it's going to be black, the next would be white, and the last one would be green. All right, so now for our grid layout, there's 2 more arguments that we want to fill out. It's row and column arguments. I want to have purple on the first row. First is always 0, and on the first column is also 0. Then the second one would be 1 and 1. The next one, say it would be 3 and 0. And the last one would be 2 and 2. Something like this. Now our grid layout isn't added anywhere, and therefore I want to add this grid layout to our core layout, and so it would be right on the bottom here, and we should see it. So let's go ahead and say core layout dot add layout, and we will add our G layout in here. And so this should work. Let's save the file, and as you can see, we have a 4th row, which is this. So if we will take a look, our purple is on the first row of the first column. Our black color is on the second row of the second column of the second row, and our white layout would be on the last row on the first column, as I did, and so you can go so forth and so forth. And therefore we have covered number 7. We go to number 8 now, where we create a stacked layout. This will be a little bit more tricky, but we'll handle that. All right, so let's import Q stack, right? Stacked layout. Yep, just like that, comma. Let's go down here, and we'll say stacked layout. As I said, it's used for tabs, okay? And so what we want to do now is actually create it. So we will call it as layout, which will stand for Q stacked layout, call it, and then as layout, we'll add a widget in here, which will be of a different color. Let's say, now I would probably want to extend it a little bit. So let's say that would be actually 500, just say a square for the height. Okay, so here we want to have a color of a color, let's say, I don't know, well, let's say pink, and let's say, I don't know, white and brown. Okay, so we added 3 sort of tabs, right? Because they're stacked, you can call these tabs. So the next thing, we want to add this as layout to our core layout, and we would go ahead and do that. Core layout, add a layout, which would be our core layout, and now we should pretty much see this. So as you can see, there is a white one, but where is a brown and pink and all the others? Well, we didn't set the current index, and therefore it chose white. For some reason, it stopped on white. If we would have commented, oh, my bad, actually, I didn't do that. Let's see what we've done here. So we've created an S layout. We added widgets. And then to the core layout, we added a core layout, which we should have not done. So we should have added S layout here, just like that. Okay. As you can see now, we can't see anything else because these are covering everything, and so we can pretty much, I would say, we can comment all of the followings. We may utilize them later, but for now, let's just stop on that. So we have our pink as the current index right now, and what we want to do, we want to switch through them, right? So I would probably recommend to use the buttons that we have at the very beginning. So let's comment these two, and let's utilize these buttons and have them as self buttons inside our class, because we would have to use them outside this function, outside our init function. And we would want to go ahead and say that self.btn2.pressed.connect should be connected to a specific slot, which we will call self.trigger btn1, trigger btn1, right? Let's call it this way for now. All right, we want to create this function just here, and let's call it def. It will receive self arguments, so it can use our self btn, right? So whenever there is a click, it will trigger this btn1 function, and inside this btn1 function, I want to trigger s layout. And if I want to do that, I want to make it self as well. And so let's have it here. It's, I believe, let me check it again. Yeah, that didn't work. So it's option shift command to choose all of them, just like that. Self dot. I should have not chose that. Okay, and like that. Okay, so here now we can use self dot s layout dot set current index to index 1, which actually 0, which is going to be pink, right? So button 1 will stand for pink, and button 2 will stand for white. And so, well, let's create the third button then, since things are this way. So we're going to have button 3, which will stand for brown, brown 3, white 2, and pink 1, just like that. Now I want to add it as well, btn3. I would probably want to have it horizontally. So if I want to do that, I would want to utilize horizontal layout, and for instance, say that this layout will, although let's wait for a second and actually use this just to see how this works, and then we might have time to do that. And so let's go ahead and say 1, 2, and 3, btn 1, 2, and 3, just like that. Okay, so then let's copy these functions and make sure they have the right names, 2 and 3, and then 1 and 2. And I believe this should work. Unless I did some mistakes, which might happen, but let's reload the thing. And if I click Y2, as you can see, tab changes, and if I click brown 3, it changes, and you can go between the tabs just like that. So this is how we do that, right? So we went just through the point 8, and the last one will be the use of built-in QTab widget, which will be less clunky as this one. So let's delete the functions, and now let's delete everything because it's, I believe, the end of this video. And so let's go ahead and actually import it in here. Let's remove all of the unused imports that we had here. And first of all, we want to once again import our core layout, which we'll set up just in a second. And I deleted it, I know, just it doesn't matter as of now. So Q tab, not bar though, Q tab widget we should use, and then comma at the end. Let's once again create our core layout, which will equal to QV box layout. Under it, I want to create T widget, which will equal to self, my bad, which will equal to Q tab widget. And the next thing, I want to set up a loop for a color in this array. Say, well, let's choose the different colors. Let's use blue, let's use red, let's use green, and the last one would be black. Okay, just like that. Set a column there. And now I want to use T widget, add a tab, and I want this tab to have a color. Inside here we will use the color, and here for the name we'll use a color as well. Just like that. Now I want to add this T widget inside my core layout, add a widget, which would be a T widget. And I believe if I will run this right now, I won't be able to click them actually. Oh, I am. Okay. Well, great. So that worked out. We have different styles though. Say if you want to, set a document mode, you would use true here, and that would tweak a style a little bit. As you can see, we have sort of document mode here. And I believe if we'll go even further and say that if the width is going to be just 100 and this would be just say 102, what we may be able to do is, well, if that won't work though, that's not a big deal. Movable should go to true, and then if I save it, and okay, so, well, what about 5? That won't work. Yeah, that doesn't let me to make it less in size than it should actually be. All right, so, well, nevertheless, that's about it. And, well, these are the main points. I wasn't supposed to show those, but we can talk about them just later. But I hope this video was helpful. That's what it's all about. And if you want to support this project, you can go ahead and open this URL. It's going to be in the description as well. Just sort of read this book that will that may help. And well, whatever you're dealing with, I don't know, but this may really help. And that's pretty much the best support that you can offer. Thank you very much.